Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Emory College Language Center's 2021 Poetry Gala. I'm Jonathan Master. Yes, that's right. I'm Jonathan Master, the director of the Language Center. I'm really happy to see 68 tiles and counting on Zoom tonight. And I'm most grateful to the students who will be sharing their passion for language study with us tonight. The Emory College Language Center is a program that brings together faculty representatives of all 18 languages that are regularly taught at Emory, from Arabic to Yiddish, to collaborate on pedagogy, to support student events that involve the languages and cultures of the world, to recognize excellence in language teaching, language study, and curriculum development, and even to help students connect with local speakers of languages we don't regularly teach through the Structured Independent Languages Study Program, SILS for short. And so if you're in Atlanta and you speak Wolof, the ECLC might be looking to get in touch with you. So this is the second Poetry Gala I have had the pleasure of attending, and I can tell you sincerely, it's one of the most wonderful events at Emory. You'll see how the study of languages other than English at this university transcends learning about foreign cultures and becomes a transformative experience for the students. They don't just gain insight into other cultures and themselves. More than that, they step into other cultures. They participate in those cultures and return to their own culture with a new perspective on it. But please don't take my word for it. You'll see for yourselves once the students start. So before I introduce our first participant, let me thank Sarah Short, the ECLC program coordinator, for organizing this evening. Yes, it takes me forever. I'm doing a reaction. There we go.
It's fun.
It's only been 14 months. I'll do it fast eventually. But Sarah organized this event and produced the beautiful program that includes the text and translation of each presenter's piece, as well as some information about the presenters themselves and the text they chose. So thank you very much, Sarah.
You're welcome. And the link is up there.
That's right. I should have said that. The link is toward the beginning of the chat.
I'll post it again as more chats come through.
Thank you. So without further ado, I will hand over the window to Ruri Yi, who is in Tibetan 102. Ruri, please take it away.
Thank you. Tashidalek na Yi. Hi, everyone. My name is Ruri, and I am a junior studying finance and arts management. And I'm really excited to be here today to represent Tibetan 102 with Professor Rigson. So before I get into the poems, I want to talk really quickly about what's behind me. So as you can see, this is the Potala Palace in Tibet, which is the official residence of the Dalai Lamas. And why that's relevant is because the poems I'll be reading for you were written by Songyang Gyatso, who was the 6th Dalai Lama. And he's sort of fondly referred to as the rebel Dalai Lama, because out of all of the lamas in history, he was the only one who sort of disrobed and renounced his monkhood. And, you know, he unfortunately had a very short life, but he still had a very prolific career as a famous and beloved poet, and also took on a lot of lovers throughout his lifetime, really earning him the nickname of the rebel Dalai Lama. So the collection of poems that I'll be reading for you are 4 short poems from his collection called Wings of the White Crane. And yeah, please feel free to follow along. I'm really excited to share them with you. Sempa parla shorne, seme nitep jogi, nimo laduk malun, yidang sherok yimpa, metok namda yelsong, yudrang sempa magyo, jampa ledro tepe, ngani hyogyu mindu Zitok bama kala Kieser lungi ponya Metok rambu nika Telsam trege leyin Gompe lame sere Yila korgyu mindu Magom jampe sere Yila korkor jejung Dudiche, thank you. And that was it for the poem.
Thank you, Rory. That was wonderful. Can I ask you, you explained who the author was. What drew you to those poems in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was trying to figure out what poems I wanted to read for you all tonight, I consulted Professor Rigson about what he thought would be a good one, and he directed me to Sanyang Gyatso. And partially because, as you can see sort of from the poems and the translations, they're very approachable and simplistic, but they're also very evocative and speak to a lot of, I think, what are universal emotions. And I think, the fact that he's still so beloved after all these years today, is a testament to that fact. And something that Professor Rigson shared with me that, I thought was really cool was that he was saying, most Tibetans like growing up have at least like one or two of his poems sort of memorized at the top of their mind. And yeah, so I think, this was something that I really enjoyed when I read his poems, and I hope that you enjoyed them as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Yes, we did. Well, that was great. Wonderful. Up next, if my notes are right, we have Lourdes Carvajal Romeo from Italian 302.
Hello, so I'll be presenting Poesia Micula by Anna Maria Robustelli. So, Poesia Micula, in un rondo di sentimenti, estranei al presente, e riprovo ardo riprimevi. Si profila l'ansa di un bosco, in attesa di passi, e schiude una città longeva ai miei occhi curiosi, cortili consunti dal tempo. Da finestre pudiche irradiano chiarori, e sulle piazze sosta la bellezza sfiorita, nel traffico promiscuo. Poesia mi porta a ritrovarmi in una melodia, che monta il dolore in domanda incessante. Poesia mi insegue in una corsa in cui rimbalza il cuore e coglie briciole sfuggite alla macina dei giorni. Poesia mi imbocca mentre la pena sempre più incide e la mia fame è tanta.
That's great, Lourdes. Thank you.
Thank you. Grazie.
What drew you to that poem? Yes, Professor Restaino was very, very proud too.
Mhm.
We're all very proud, of course, but what drew you to that poem, Lourdes?
So I'm more accustomed to like medieval Renaissance works in the Italian canon. So I did ask Dr. Restaino to help me in selecting a poem because I'm not very familiar with contemporary Italian works. And I really wanted something by a female author because, since the Italian canon is very heavily male dominated and what we think of what is the most famous works, I really wanted something that emphasized the female voice. And even though this one is about femininity in particular, it is about modernity and how poetry is important and cradles her, because that's what the title is in English, Poetry Cradles Me. And I think it speaks a lot to the function of poetry and how it's a way to come to terms with feelings and how people are able to find comfort in it and also able to come to terms with different events in their lives and able to realize different truths about themselves.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
And I'll say, Lourdes, that Lourdes is participated in the fall makeup poetry gala from last year. So she is a two-time presenter. So thank you doubly, Lourdes, for doing that.
Mille grazie.
Okay. I hope my notes are right here. Up next, we have Kalyani Alams.
Hi everyone. I'm reading Le Pont Mirabeau de Guillaume Apollinaire. Sous le pont Mirabeau coule la Seine, et nos amours, faut-il qu'ils m'en souviennent, la joie venait toujours après la peine. Vienne la nuit, sonne l'heure, les jours s'en vont, je demeure, les mains dans les mains, restons face à face, tandis que sous le pont de nos bras passent des éternels regards, l'onde s'y lasse. Vienne la nuit, sonne l'heure, les jours s'en vont, je demeure. L'amour s'en va comme cette eau courante, l'amour s'en va comme la vie est lente et comme l'espérance est violente. Vienne la nuit, sonne l'heure, les jours s'en vont, je demeure. Passent les jours et passent les semaines, ni temps passé, ni les amours reviennent. Sous le pont Mirabeau coule la Seine. Vienne la nuit, sonne l'heure, les jours s'en vont, je demeure.
It's wonderful. That's great. Kalyani, thank you. What draws you to that poem?
Well, Dr. Dana, who I believe is somewhere on these Zoom screens, was so kind to help me find this poem. I think part of what made me or drew me to this poem is the fact that, looking for a poem that meets the themes of hope or renewal can often be overwrought or overly sentimental. And I think that when a poem relies on sentimentality, it becomes not a poem. And so that was so important to me about this poem, is interrogating how hope can be a violent force, not something that's always good in our lives. And then also thinking about renewal as it relates to water that is constantly turning over in this river and running by, and how that's both a sad thing that happens because it takes things away like our loves, but also, we can recognize from reading this poem that there's the potential for something new to happen.
It's great. Really, really awesome. Well, thanks, Kalyani. That was great. Up next from Hebrew 102, we have Lucy Edelman.
Hello. Happy Thursday, everyone. My name is Lucy Edelman. I am a first-year student at Emory. I am a music major, and in honor of this really special occasion, I wrote an original Hebrew song. Oh my gosh, so cool. So now you're gonna all hear it. Okay, so it starts a little repeat after me. So you're gonna all stay on mute. Don't all try to sing, that'll be really crazy. So just follow along, it's super simple. I'm gonna say Ayo, and you're also gonna say Ayo. Ayo. Ayo, Ayo-ee. Ayo, Ayo-ee, oh-ee. Y'all sound great. Ayo, Ayo, Ayo-ee. Ayo, Ayo-ee, oh-ee. Ayo, Ayo, Ayo-ee. Ayo, Ayo-ee, oh-ee. מתעורר היום, היום, היום שלי. היום אני רואה כמה פפרים. יושבת על הדשא לשתות קפה. עם חברים שלי סתם לדבר. אבל מה אם השמש תמכלכם? האם גם הסימה שלי תעזור? שמיים כחולים, אני בסדר עם החיים שלי. כל החרבט יותר טוב מאתמול. תודה לה, שמיים כחולים ופפרים. Those Ayos, guys! Ayo, ayo, ayo-ee. Ayo, ayo-ee, oh-ee. Last time. Ayo, ayo, ayo-ee. Ayo, ayo, is. Oh, thank you.
That's magnificent, Lucy. And the great news is we will have no rights issues if we post the recording of that on the ECLC webpage. We've run into that problem before, so that's the original is great. How did that come about?
So I am new to learning conversational Hebrew as of this year. And so I really wanted to take my love of music and take that with everything that I've learned this year and make it into something awesome. And so, yes.
I think we all needed that right now.
Yay.
Beautiful.
That's fantastic, really. That was great. Really great. Well, thanks, Lucy. That was fun.
John,
Yes.
David Ramos is on now. I don't know if you want to switch around.
Okay, David Ramos was supposed to be first. I can't. He's here somewhere.
Hi, sorry everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'm just trying to balance two, well, this one I'm really happy to be here, and the other one's like a mentor obligation. So I was able to sneak away for 10 minutes to share a poem.
Okay, great. All right. Well, David, why don't you let's see, are you in the Spanish 400?
Yes. So, all right. Well, hi everyone. My name is David. I'm representing the Spanish department. And this is a poem I wrote. And so I'm really excited to share it with you guys. And it's called Las Fotos Vivas, or the living photos. Okay. So, mira tu tío, tus primas, los vecinos, la familia entera me enseñó mi mamá. Parados y sentados quietos sin movimiento, pero con sonrisas grandes, casado con ojos de alegría, lleno con felicidad en la pared, abrazando el cristal. Esta gente en las fotos, aunque felices y con sonrisas simpáticas, eran extraños. Yo no los conocía. Tenían nombres, pero nada más. Un día vas a conocer la familia, después que saco mis papeles. Ojalá un día pronto, ma. Años y años pasaron. Yo ya no era un niño, ya era un estudiante de la universidad. Y por fin, después de mucho tiempo, fui a México para conocer la familia. Pero sin esos papeles y sin mi mamá. Mira, mi tío, mis primas, la familia entera. Ahora, esa gente en las fotos ya mueven y tienen risas detrás de sus sonrisas. Por fin, ya no es el cristal que están abrazando, pero yo como una familia verdadera. De regreso, traje nuevas fotos para la casa, pero esta vez, esta gente tenía más que nombres solamente. Cada vez que yo veo las fotos, yo oigo sus risas, veo nosotros caminando por Chapultepec y huelo la comida que comimos. A mi lado, escucho, por fin conociste la familia. Un día pronto vamos juntos. Primero Dios, ma. Thank you.
David, that poem made me cry when you submitted it. I was just like, oh my goodness. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I was I'm really grateful to Emory, the Spanish department, because I used English in the poem just because so I actually lost my Spanish language after growing up in Kansas City, and so one thing that I'm really grateful for, and I see Dr. Teixeira, so I'm grateful for her as well, because I've been able to not only learn Spanish while I was at Emory, but also a third language, which is, well, half, so a little bit of Portuguese. So thank you so much for letting me share it with you guys.
Thank you.
You, David, that was wonderful. Great. Okay, well, we're rolling along. This is fantastic. Up next is Edith Minou Kwan from Korean 302.
Hi, I'm Edith. I am a third year studying English and Korean writing and theater studies. And today I will be reading 담쟁이, which is literally the word for Korean, for ivy in Korean. 담쟁이. 저것은 벽. 어쩔 수 없는 벽이라고 우리가 느낄 때, 그때 담쟁이는 말 없이 그 벽을 오른다. 물 한 방울 없고 씨앗 한 톨 살아남을 수 없는 저것은 절망의 벽이라고 말할 때 담쟁이는 서두르지 않고 앞으로 나아간다. 한 뼘이라도 꼭 여럿이 함께 손을 잡고 올라간다. 푸르게 절망을 다 덮을 때까지 바로 그 절망을 잡고 놓지 않는다. 저것은 넘을 수 없는 벽이라고 고개를 떨구고 있을 때 담쟁이 잎 하나는 담쟁이 잎 수천 개를 이끌고 결국 그 벽을 넘는다. Thank you.
Thank you, Edith. Fantastic. Edith, what spoke to you in that poem?
So the poet Do Jong-hwan is someone who's very familiar with grief, and I think that's something we can all relate to some extent during this period. And I chose this poem in particular for its messages of unity and patience. I think all of us, or most of us, have been feeling like restless during this period, and reading this poem reminds me to take things one step at a time, and also to embrace community rather than subjecting myself to like succumbing to isolation or jumping to conclusions.
That's great, really great. Thank you. Up next, we have Eliana Nahman from Portuguese 302.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eliana Nahman, and I will be reading a poem. It's called Lá no Água Grande, de Alda do Espírito Santo. Lá no Água Grande, a caminho da roça, negritas batem com roupa na pedra. Batem e cantam modinhas da terra. Cantam e riem em riso de mofa, histórias contadas, arrastadas pelo vento. Riem alto de riso, com a roupa na pedra, e põem de branco a roupa lavada. As crianças brincam e a água canta. Brincam na água felizes. Velam no capim negrito pequenino. E os gemidos cantados das negritas lá do rio ficam mudos lá na hora do regresso. Jazem quedos no regresso para a roça. Obrigada.
Great. Eliana, how about you? What in this poem did you, what drew you to this poem?
Well, I chose this poem because there's a poignant contrast of emotion of the women in the poem that is demonstrated so well by Alda do Espírito Santo. Like in the beginning, you can feel the happiness exuded by the women as they're in this space away from the plantation. And then as it's time to go back, I tried to emulate the quietness, the silence that is so apparent in the poem. And as my professor, Professora Ana Catarina Teixeira, has taught us to analyze and relate what we read and understand in our classes to the present day, I believe this poem is incredibly revealing, especially in the current social atmosphere about the life of the female Black slave and the power of their silence in this instance. And I just fell in love with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you. The reading was wonderful.
Yeah. John.
Eliana, no, I know.
Okay, sorry.
I 1,000 apologies. Eliana, I looking down, I missed your name, Joyce Zhao. So please, Joyce, from Chinese 403, take it away.
Hi everyone, my name is Joyce. I am currently a freshman, and today I will be reading 热爱生命, which roughly translates to loving life. Please enjoy. 我不去想是否能够成功，既然选择了远方，便只顾风雨兼程。我不去想 能否赢得爱情？既然钟情于玫瑰，就勇敢地吐露真诚。我不去想，身后会不会袭来寒风冷雨。既然目标是地平线，留给世界的只能是背影。我不去想，未来是平坦还是泥泞，只要热爱生命，一切都在意料之中。
Thanks, Joyce. That was great. How did you come to choose that poem, Joyce?
I think what really spoke to me about this poem in particular was that in terms of maybe the phrasing or the words that were used to describe loving life, this title and this main theme, it's not overly complicated, it's very simplistic, and yet it also conveys a very strong and a very resilient point of view on life. It's very simplistic. It's about appreciating life for how it is, regardless of whether or not you succeed, whether or not you find love, or whether or not you encounter a lot of obstacles. And just like as a freshman entering college for the first time, life is really at it's at a changing point. So I think it really helped me just connect with how I view life and just remind myself to keep going.
Great. It's wonderful. Really wonderful. Okay. Up next, we have Jerry Zhang from Japanese 402.
All right. Hey, everyone. My name's Jerry, and I hope you guys are all doing well. So today, representing the Japanese department, I have a haiku by Matsuo, composed in the late 17th century. Here we go. Haru nare ya, namonaki yama no usugasumi. That's it.
That's wonderful, Jerry. Let's say a small package, but what's there? What is there that really spoke to you?
Well, I picked this haiku because it's quite simple, really. At the time of submitting the poetry selection to the gala, spring was just starting to arrive, and the weather has just begun to take the edge off the coldness of the winter. And I thought that the concise yet mysterious description fits the season well. As someone who's also kind of interested in learning more about the poet himself, I felt that this was the poem for the occasion.
That's fantastic. There's actually been a request for an encore, Jerry. So I think we can afford the time. So why don't you would you go ahead and do it one more time?
Got it. Okay. Haru nare ya, namonaki yama no usugasumi. Yep, that'll be it. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry. That's really great. Up next from Russian, we have, I believe, a dialogue with two speakers, Grant Britton and Sophie Rice.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sophie Rice. I'm a third year in the college, double majoring in international studies and Russian Eastern European studies.
And Здравствуйте, my name is Grant Britton. I'm also taking Russian 313. And the name of our poem is У новогодней ёлки, which means a dialogue, У новогодней ёлки, which means a dialogue by the New Year's tree, and it's by Yuri Levitansky. And here it is. Что происходит на свете?
А просто зима.
Просто зима, полагаете вы?
Полагаю.
Я види сам, как умею следы пролагаю по ваши уснувшие раны порою дома.
Что же за всем этим будет?
А будет январь.
Будет январь, вы считаете?
Да, я считаю. Я ведь давно эту первую книгу читаю. Этот с картинками Бюги, старинный букварь.
Чем же все это кончится?
Будет апрель.
Будет апрель, вы уверены?
Да, я уверен, я уже слышал.
И слух этот мною проверен, будто бы в роще сегодня звенело свирел.
Что же из этого следует?
Следует шит сарафане и легкие платья и ситца.
Вы полагаете, все это будет носиться?
Я полагаю, что все это следует шить. Следует шить, ибо сколько в юге не крушить, недолговечны ее кабала и опала.
Так разрешите же в честь новогоднего бала руку на танцу дарня вам предложить.
Месяц серебряный шар со свечою внутри и карнавальные маски.
По кругу, вальс начинается, дайте же, сударня, руку. И раз, два, три.
Раз, два, три.
Раз, два, три.
Раз, два, три.
Thank you both. That's the first dialogue that in the two of these that I've attended. So was really great. How did this happen? Not just why did you select that? Were you looking to do something together, or did one of you like it and needed another person?
Well, actually, I can speak to that. Actually, neither of us had heard of this poem. Our professor actually told us about it. Dr. Elena Glazov-Corrigan, shout out to her. She introduced us to this because she's been with us on Zoom for the past, year and a half as our professor. And this poem really speaks to, like many of these other poems, the idea of spring and new beginnings and kind of connection and renewal. So it was very timely and we had a lot of fun learning it together.
Yes, Elena Yurovna knows best, and we were very impressed with their choice and thought it would be a good idea to do a dialogue together. And the whole concept of going from a time of darkness and to a time of light, and it's symbolized in the poem from going to April, springtime, and triumph.
Well, that was fantastic. Thank you both. That's great. It's really great. Okay, up next from German 202, we have John Tsai.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm John Tsai. I'm a sophomore from and yeah, I'm going to share a poem that I wrote myself. It's actually my first German poem I ever wrote in last semester. So yeah, it's called Metamorphosen. Metamorphosen von Käfer. Ein Käfer, der ich bin, und verliebt in eine Raupe. Ihre langsamen und kleinen Schritte flockten mir überall. Auf einem Baum redeten wir und aßen Blätter. Jedoch eines Tages bewegt sie sich ja nicht und wurde ein Kokon. Sie war tot, ich bin mir sicher. Viele Tag und Nacht habe ich an ihrer Seite getrauert. Nicht kann sie zurückbringen. Jetzt bin ich ein anderer. Er schrumpfte. Dann bricht der Kokon auseinander und ein Monster, das große Flügel hat, schritt hinaus. Wer bist du? Was hast du mit meiner Liebste gemacht? Meine Liebste, wohin bist du gegangen? Von der Raupe, eine hässliche Raupe, die ich war, aber ich wurde von einem Käfer geliebt. Sein Blick war mir peinlich wegen der lahmen Schritte meines klobigen Körpers. Die schönsten Augen, die du hast, du sagst mir. Musste ich ein schöner Schmetterling werden, musste ich Blätter so viel und so schnell wie möglich essen, gingen wir von Baum zu Baum. Endlich habe ich genug zu essen und wurde eingekommen. Dann ging ich in den tiefen Schlaf. Hier kam ich, meine Liebe. Ich bin ein schöner Schmetterling. Was ist los? Warum bist du so wütend auf mich? Ach nein, helfe, helfe. Meine Augen, ja, sie sind die gleichen Augen. Da bin ich, die Raupe. Thank you.
Awesome, John. John, what made you want to express yourself in this poem in German?
Yeah, so my professor, this semester and last semester, Professor Uke, taught us about German poems last semester, especially Goethe's Romanticism poems. Yeah, I think it's lots of his poems are in a similar subject, and his poems inspired me, and I like to kind of explore this this kind of the I guess the complexity and how you private or secretive part of in human emotions. And I think in German it was just simple tale. For me in German kind of kind of make it more concise and more emotional in a way.
That's wonderful, and I see Peter Hoying's making the learned reference to Kafka. I was thinking of a very hungry caterpillar, a less elevated but still great one. Thanks, John. That was really great. Up next from Greek 370 is Malak Hashem.
Hi, I'm Malak. I'm a senior classics major, and today I'm going to be reading a passage from a novel called Daphnis and Chloe, written by Longus in around the 2nd century AD. And it tells the story of a young love between our heroes Daphnis and Chloe. And in this passage, the cowherd Darkon is having a little roast battle with our hero Daphnis for a kiss from Chloe. So here we go. Ego Parthena, maidson Amy Daphnidos, kai ego men bukalos, had I palos, to sutan ego praeton hoson igon boes, kai lokos Amy hos Gala, kai puros hos theros melon amastai, kai athreps emeter, utherion, Utos de estimi pros kai ageneas hos pune, kai melos hos lukos. Neme de tragus, adodos apauton denon, kai esti penes hos mede cuna trefein, Ede hos legusi, kai aixauto Gala dedoken, uden erifon de afere. Tauta kai toyauta ha dorkon, kai meta tauta ha Daphnis. Emme aixan athrepsen hos perton dia, nemo de tragus ton tutu boon maidsonas, also de uden apauton, hati meta hapan, kai toige on to pleon tragas. Arche de moi ha churas, kai artos of Elias, kai oinos lokos, hasa agorikon plusion ktemata. Ageneas Amy, kai gar ha Dionysos, melas, kai gar ha huakinthos. Ala preton kai ha Dionysos soturon, kai ha huakinthos krinon. Hutaste kai puras hos alopex kai progeneas hos tragas kai lokos hos ex asteas gune. Kande eise philein, emumen philes to stoma, tutude tes epitu geneu tricas. Memne sade, o Parthene, hati kai se poimnion ethrepsen, ala kai e kalei.
Great, Malak, thank you. Now, Malak, did you use the term roast battle at the beginning of your thing?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Malak, why don't you go ahead and tell us why you selected a roast battle from the 2nd century AD?
Well, we read this novel last semester with Dr. Slater, and this passage like really stuck with me because it was hilarious, and I thought it like stands well on its own, even out of context, and would maybe act as a little teaser to encourage people to read it.
That's really great. There's a lot of competition tonight, though, for all these languages. This is all, I want to study all of them. It's the problem. Well, awesome, Malak. Thank you. Up next, we have Tasneem Ahmed from Arabic 302.
Marhaba, hi everyone. My name is Tasneem. I'm a first-year student at Oxford, and I am currently enrolled in Arabic 302. The poem I will be presenting today is called Shajaratul Layli wan Nahari by the poet Denise, and the title in English is The Tree of Night and Day. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you're able to follow along. قبل أن يأتي النهار أجيء قبل أن يتساءل عن شمسه أضيء وتجيء الأشجار راكضة خلفي وتمشي في ظلي الأكمام ثم تبني في وجهي الأوهام جزرا وقلاعا من الصمت يجهل أبوابها الكلام ويضيء الليل الصديق وتنسى نفسها في فراشي الأيام ثم إذ تسقط الينابيع في صدري وترخي أزرارها وتنام أوقظ الماء والمرايا وأجلو مثلها صفحة الرؤى وأنام. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tasneem. That was fantastic. How did you come to select that poem?
I think I was really touched by this idea that each day is a blank slate. It's a new beginning. The poet sort of takes us through his day from the moment he wakes up to the time he goes to sleep. And there is no mention of tomorrow. There's no mention of yesterday. It's solely focused on the gift that is today. And we often forget that. We forget that today is a gift, and we wake up and, we think about the responsibilities and the burdens that are ahead of us. And we forget that today is a new beginning, and it's an opportunity. So I think that's something that really resonated with me, and I thought that it was extremely inspiring. I'm really thankful for all the mentorship I got from Ustada Shahada and Ustada Cornell. They've helped me tremendously.
Great, Tasneem, that was fantastic. Our final presenter tonight from Latin 370 is Elise Williams.
Hi, I'm going to be reading a selection from Book 10 of Ovid's Metamorphoses about Orpheus and Eurydice. And then just as background on the myth, Eurydice died on their wedding day, and Orpheus went to the underworld to retrieve her. And Hades allowed him to on the condition that he not look back at her as he led her out of the underworld. But unfortunately, that temptation proved too great. Talia dicentem nervos quad verba moventem ex sanguis flebant animae, nec tantalus undam captavit refugam stuput quixiones orbis, nec carpsere jecur volucres ornesque vacarunt velides, inque tuo sedisti Sisyphe saxo. Tunc primum lacrimis victarum carmine famst, Eumenidum maduisse genas nec regia coniunx, sustinet oranti nec, qui reget ima negare, Euridicemque vocant. Umbras erat illa recentes inter et incesset passu de vulnere tardo, hanc simul et legem roda peus, accipit heros. Ne flectat retro sua lumina, donac avernas exieret vales. Aut in rita dona futura. Carpitur ad clivis permutas lentia trames, ardus obscurus caligine densus opaca. Nec procul afferunt telluris margine sumae, hic nedificeret metuens avidusque videndi, flexit amans oculos et protinus illa relapsas. Brachia quintendens prendiquet prendere certans, nil nisi cedentes infelix aripet auras. Iamque iterum moriens non est de coniuge quiquam, questa suo, quid enim nisi secere retur amatam. Supremumque vale, quod iam vix oribus ille acciperet. Dixit revulataque rursus eodumst.
That was great, Elise. Thank you. Elise, what about this little bit of the Metamorphoses spoke to you?
We translated it last spring in Dr. Pratt's Latin course, and I just always really liked it because of the contrast between the really beautiful language that Ovid uses and the really tragic subject matter. And I just think it's a really beautiful section of the Metamorphoses.
It's great. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I wish if we were in person, we could give every one of the presenters, all of you together, a round of applause. That would be loud and the room would shake. But one of the challenges of Zoom is the silence. So everyone is applauding. It was wonderful. Thank you all so much. In the fall, a few of us hung around. If you have any questions for any of the presenters or the presenter be willing to hang around, I invite you to do that. But otherwise, thank you all so much for coming. Thank you to all the students for participating in this. This really was better than I promised, and great variety, really interesting and wonderful, beautiful things. So thank you, and have a good night, everybody.